Hello and welcome to part 22 of the Johnny Blender 2.0 series. In this section we're going to go ahead and keep working on our jacket here. Go ahead and create a texture map for it, maybe a few more little details here and there. So let's go ahead and get started on that. I'm going to go ahead and save my file as 22, or you can just hit the little plus button over on your numpad. Go ahead and save. Okay, now there's a couple things I want to do before I actually jump in and start texturing this. First of all, I'd like to add. Actually, you know what? I can probably do all that on the texture map. So I guess the only thing I really want to do is just add a zipper thing right there. So let's go ahead and model one of those out real quick. Let's just pop into the side here. Shift A, make a cube. Go ahead and scale it way down. And we'll zoom in here and tab into edit mode, W subdivide, and let's cut it 3 times. And let's go ahead and get rid of this half over here so we can just do this once and not have to worry about the other side. And we'll go ahead and add the old mirror modifier and make sure we turn on clipping. Okay, so let's go ahead and start modeling this out. Okay, this will be the part that actually goes on the jacket itself. Gonna make it a lot thinner, of course. And just for realistic sake, let's go ahead and grab the sides here and extrude those in. About like that. And when we tab out, you can see that it's got the you know, where it goes through the teeth of the zipper. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the little doodad out here that the little controller hangs from. Extrude that all the way in until it meets in the middle, and then we'll just go ahead and delete that. Delete those faces. Okay. And now let's go ahead and Shift A, and we're going to add a plane over here. And we need to scale that way down. Let's go ahead and turn off clipping for now so we can get this out here. And now we can turn that back on. And let's go to side view, and let's bring this down here and just scale it up. And let's just kind of build it in 2 dimensions first. Go ahead and subdivide it a few times. Okay. Let's like build it in like 2 dimensions first, and then we'll extrude it out and give it a nice thicker shape. So let's do one more loop cut right there, and then maybe one up here as well. Okay, so now let's move this guy up some, and we will grab these faces and then these faces. Go ahead and delete those. Okay, and let's drag this up some, and maybe we can drag this one up as well. There we go. Looks like a soda pop tab, but it's going to be our zipper. Let's scale this out a little bit. Okay, so now we can select all this. Let's grab one of the faces, Control L, and we'll go and extrude it backwards some, about like that. And then let's go ahead and add a couple of loops around here. Actually, do that again. Scroll my mouse wheel to get 2 loops there. There we go. And now we'll select everything again and drag it up. Actually, let's hit O to turn off the fall off. Let's scale it down just a little so it fits in there. And there we go, our little zipper. And let's go ahead and put a subdivision surface on there. That looks pretty neat, huh? And turn the shading to smooth. And now let's drag it over and put it where it needs to go on the jacket. So right there at the base of the throat. Right in here. kind of get it to where it's maybe behind the jacket a little bit and scale it up some. Let's put it right there at the top of the, right there. That'll be fine. And it's a little small, isn't it? Let's go ahead and scale it up some more. And let's tell you what, let's jump into edit mode here. And let's bring the little tab part out quite a bit more so we can put the rest of it kind of behind our jacket surface there. Zoom in and get that guy right there. Okay. And I guess I'll need these guys as well. There we go. And how many is there? There we go. How many are there? There we go. Okay. Let's bring that back until it's below the layer of the cloth. Doesn't have to function, just gotta look believable there. Okay, now we can grab all these guys and bring them up until they're just laying on the surface there. And there we go. Might be a little bit too wide now. Let's undo a couple times until it's selected again, then we can just drag it towards the center and it'll narrow it up. There we go. So we've got us a nice little zipper there. And let's go ahead and save. 22, yes. Okay. And we're going to combine this zipper to our jacket here. Don't have to worry about materials or the doing a UV map because it's going to have a whole separate material. So the way you combine two separate models, as we've done with the inside of the mouth, you just hold down Shift and hit Control J, and it combines them. And I guess I need to undo that. If it'll let me. Okay, I guess I selected something. There we go. Undo until, there we go, until it's one piece again. We have to go ahead and apply our mirror. There we go. Now we can Control J. Okay, undo again. We've got our jacket, and it's got the solidify modifier on there, so go ahead and apply that as well. And you know, that's probably going to mess with our UV coordinates, so let's go ahead and tab into edit mode there, and let's go ahead and unwrap those again. Okay. It's kind of a weird shape. Let's do the average island scale. It's not really behaving the way it should. Let's put a seam all around the edge. About right there. Hard to tell what's selected and what's not. Let's get our edge select mode so we can tell a little bit easier. Okay, zoom in here. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Let's go ahead and select. There we go. Okay, now we have the whole area selected. So let's hit Control E to mark seams. There we go. Now we'll select everything and go UVs, unwrap. There we go. Now we have two separate pieces. And then it looks like this piece here is going to be the collar area, which it can stay as one large piece. So let's go ahead and come in here and let's select that seam there and Control E and clear that seam. So now the only seam we have is around the edge, which will work just fine. So let's go ahead and select everything one more time, unwrap those UVs, and now we have the inside of the jacket and then the outside. And we really don't need to worry about the inside. We might just paint it black, just so it's, you know, nice and subdued and out of the way. Okay, so now we need to determine which is which one's the front, which one's the back. So let's just deselect everything and grab our face select mode, and we can select a couple of faces that we know are here on the front. Not that guy. Okay, and then look at our map. Okay, so the bottom one's going to be the outside of the jacket, and the one on the top is going to be the inside. Okay, so let's go ahead and average their scale and pack them a little bit better. There we go. And now we'll go ahead and save out our. You know what? Let's just go ahead and do a texture paint on this, just so we can have an image to work with, not have to worry about trying to paint from our UV coordinates. So let's just go to texture paint, and let's make our brush black, and let's go ahead and flip him over, and let's make our brush really big. Let's go ahead and paint all this in here. Okay, and then we will paint the inside just a dark gray. Actually, let's give it a little bit of a brown tint. There we go. It's going to be a brown leather jacket. So let's paint that on there. Okay. Try to find the edge. But we might have to go ahead and use the UV coordinates also on here. But that's no big deal. Okay, so that's all set. We'll pop back out of the texture paint, and let's go ahead and save this image. Save as, jacket texture, save. Okay, and why don't we just go ahead and just have an edit mode, select all these UVs, export UV layout, and since we're working in GIMP, we will use the SVG, which is the default, and we'll name it jacket underscore coordinates, chords. There we go, export. Alright, now let's go ahead and save, and let's minimize this and jump into GIMP. There we go. And we'll go ahead and open both of those. Let's see. And we're in that last folder there, so just those top two. Just hold down Control, select both of them, and it'll ask you what dimensions you want. 1024 is fine. Okay. Okay, so now we can just select everything, Control A, and then let's Control C, copy it, go to our other image, and go ahead and create a new layer. There we go. You can just paste on there, and it'll open up a kind of, well, let's go ahead and do it again. Open up like the floating selection, and you can just right click and say new layer. And it'll do that. So I don't need to do that. I can just go ahead and trash that guy. Okay, so now we know where our boundaries are. So let's go ahead and create one more layer here. Okay, and I want to paint in some variation for our color here. Let's go ahead and turn this layer off for now. On this layer, let's go ahead and do a filter, and we're going to we're going to render clouds, and let's say difference clouds. And it'll give us some options over here, and let's make it really small with a lot of detail. And we'll say OK. Okay, I guess since I didn't have anything on that layer, it didn't want to put my cloud. So let's just go ahead and paint it black, and then we'll try it again. Render clouds, difference clouds, and now we'll say OK. And there we go. Okay, and now we can just turn this layer mode to multiply might work. Let's play with a couple of the others. Divide, definitely no. Screen, no. Overlay, overlay might work as well. Let's just run its opacity down. See, I'm trying to give this a nice, variation to the brown leather here. So that's probably good about like that. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom in a little. Hold down Control and scroll your mouse wheel. Let's turn this layer back on so I can see where everything is. And let's create one more layer. Okay. And now I'm going to put some threading around here. We're going to put some seams along the edges of our our jacket here, so it looks nice and realistic. So let's zoom in pretty close here, and this is where it kind of gets a little tedious. So we're going to start painting with a paintbrush, really small, maybe not quite that small, about like that. And we're going to paint with not quite white thread, but maybe a very light tan, maybe about right there, one of these selected colors. So make sure we're on our empty layer there. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can get a good idea of, okay, this is the collar, this will be down the front. So I'm going to come alongside where the zipper is going to go. So let's just paint in our handmade jacket thread. It's right there along that seam. Actually, you know what? We might need to move this. So, tell you what, let's do that. Let's because the lowest line here is where the jacket curves around and meets the back. So we actually want to move it to a little further in. So let's just move. Just get our move that layer up some. And okay. Thought I was gonna have to select it and move it, but just moving that layer up worked fine. And now let's go ahead and do the same thing along the collar. So grab our paintbrush. I'll just go ahead and paint up here. Now it might look kind of strange right now, but once we get it on the model, it'll look a lot better. So tell you what, to save time, I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around, so there's really no reason to keep recording unless you're bored. But just to save time and for the both of us, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recorder so you don't have to sit here and watch me draw all of these on there. So I'll be right back. Okay, so you can see where I drew the paint or the threads on there. Let's go ahead and turn off that layer now and kind of see what it looks like a little better. And I'm wondering if that's not gonna, looks like the boundaries are kind of being faded into. So let me grab, let's turn off this layer here, and let me grab some of that brown paint there. I need the eyedropper tool. There we are. And let's paint out a little further here on that layer. So we're for sure going out to the boundaries. Let's go ahead and turn the boundaries back on so I can see what I'm doing a little better. Okay, now we can turn that layer off and the cloudiness back on. Okay, go ahead and zoom out. And I think that's going to work. Let's go ahead and save this. Save that image. Going to merge the visible layers. Export jacket texture.png. Good. Okay, now we're going to stay right here in GIMP, and we're going to kind of do the same thing we did with the face texture map. We're going to create a bump map for this. and I guess also a specular map as well. So for the bump map, I basically want almost the exact same thing, except I want it to be black and white. So let's just create a new layer over here. Okay, and let's just paint that a nice mid-gray color. Paint bucket right there. Go ahead and paint that in. Okay, and now it's going to kind of give, see, the white threads are going to come up out of it. So those will be, actually they're not white, well, they'll work fine. They're close enough to white to where they'll be raised up. And then the cloudiness texture will sort of give it a nice, a little bit more texture than just a smooth surface. So let's go ahead and save this. Save as. We'll call this one jacket bump. Save. And merge the layers. Okay. Well, there's a lot of options here. Save. There we go, finally. Okay, and finally for the specular map, let's go ahead and turn off that layer there, the cloud layer. And this time I want to make the threads right there. Let's make those black. So we'll go colors, invert, make them black. And this gray will give us a nice dull sheen. It won't be very shiny, but it'll still have a little bit of shine to it. You see the threads, I don't want those to be shiny at all. So let's go ahead and save this one as jacket spec. And we'll go ahead and, where's my mouse? There it is. Go ahead and save. And merge the layers. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Okay, so now we're done in GIMP. Let's go ahead and minimize that. Tab out of edit mode. We'll go ahead and image reload. You can see the new texture map that we just painted. And now let's come in here, and for sake of rendering speeds, let's go ahead and turn off all of our particle hairs right now. So just go ahead and turn those on. Let's go and rename this one. What was this one? Head. Just name that one hair, I guess. And then this one was the whiskers. And let's go ahead and turn off the render for those. Go ahead and save. I guess go ahead and turn off the preview for it as well. So now I'll grab my jacket, and let's create a new texture, a new material for it. And we won't mess with anything on this side. Let's go over to our textures, and let's new texture. I'm going to add the image or movie, and we'll just go ahead and add the texture map that's already loaded. Jacket texture, there we go. And change the mapping to UV. Okay, go ahead and collapse these. And that's pretty much all we need to do for that one. I like to select both there on the preview. Let's go ahead and add another texture here. This one also will be image or movie. And image is going to open this time. And let's get the jacket bump open. Come down here, turn off the color, set it to the normal under geometry there. Mapping also needs to be UV. And let's scale up our normal settings just a little bit. Kind of get a little bit of a view of it there. Not a lot though. Okay, so let's, you know what, I like to put the bump maps at the very top. Sometimes it makes a difference, sometimes it doesn't. And finally the specular map, also the image or movie. Open the jacket spec, okay. Turn off color, come down here and select specular color. There we go. And we'll collapse this and turn mapping to UV. Okay, so now when we render, we should get a pretty decent looking jacket texture. We might need to add some subsurface scattering to this as well, but we'll see what it looks like first. And also before I render, I want to go ahead and give my zipper here its own material there. So we'll just create a new material. And let's jump into the textures, create a new texture. This time it's going to be a blend. And let's go to our color settings here, turn on ramp, and just go ahead and hit delete. We'll delete one side of this. I just want this to be one color. I'm going to kind of make this a nice bronze color. So we need our color here to be kind of a light brown color. And then we'll go back to our materials settings. And one little trick you can use to create a metallic looking texture, I think I might have gone over this in the original Johnny Blender series, but is to use the Toon shader and just max this, or don't max the smooth out, but just bring it up pretty high. And then we'll do the same thing with the specular level on it. Set it to Toon, set intensity fairly small, and just set the smooth up. And the size needs to be a lot smaller. Actually, I guess this can be, let's set this one to be blend. Let's set the intensity up and the hardness up pretty high too. And you can play with the settings here. And one more thing you can do to add a little bit more realism to it, add just a little bit of reflection to it. So just come down and check mirror and just set the reflection up just a little bit. About like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and save again. And we've got our jacket texture created and our bronze texture. Let's go ahead and name that bronze. And you know what? Let's go ahead and name our jacket texture as well, jacket. Okay, let's go ahead and save, and let's take a peek and see how this looks in our render window. Let's go ahead and reposition our camera to where we get a nice view of the jacket. Save, and let's go ahead and take a peek. Uh-oh. Blender crashed on me. I don't know why. There's nothing really complex in there. Let me go ahead and pause the recorder, and I'll bring it back up, and we'll try it again. Okay, luckily I saved it just before I tried to render, and so we still have the latest version. So we'll go ahead and try to render now. Sometimes Blender, it builds up memory when you've been working in it for a little while, so that might have been the case there, even though... Okay, so that looks pretty decent. It's got a nice sheen to it, a nice leathery texture, and the threads really popping out there, looking pretty nice. So I guess I'll call the jacket pretty well done. You know what, maybe that thread might be sticking out just a little bit too far. So, let's work just a little bit further on it. I think I'm running on 30 minutes again. I want to finish this though. Let's jump right back into GIMP really quick. Where's it at here? And let's open up the jacket texture. Actually, yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm absent-minded sometimes. Let's go ahead and open up the coordinates as well. Okay. And just Control A, Control C, come over here, paste it. Alright, now, what I want to do, let's set, that is a new layer. Let's go ahead and set the opacity down a little bit. What I want to do is I want to create a seam across the shoulder. So let's get a peek of what area that would be. Tab in edit mode there. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, about the 5th line up from the zipper area. So tab out, come back over here to GIMP. There we go. So say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be about right there. And so let's go ahead and we'll paint the threads across there as well. And also, I was thinking we'd go ahead and paint the crease on there, but I guess we can do that on the bump map. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recorder so it doesn't take up much more time, and I'll just go ahead and do exactly what I described. I already showed you how to do it, so we'll just go ahead and I'll do it again off camera, and then I'll show you after I finish. So be right back. Okay, as you can see, I went ahead and drew a lot more thread on there, and I decided to go ahead and add some variation to the jacket. a little bit, add some extra pizzazz to the design of it. And okay, so now we've got, let's go ahead and save this. Oops. File, save as. And this is going to be jacket texture. Save. And replace. And merge the layers. Ah, geez. There's a lot of options you gotta go through. Okay, and now we'll go ahead and recreate the bump map as well, since we have a lot of new features on here. And the way we need to do that is, let's go ahead and create that new layer again. Okay, bucket paint, some gray. Let's make this a little bit lighter gray. This is going to be for the brown area. Go ahead and paint that over there, and let's turn on. I guess we can leave the clouds on. And this time I want to grab the. Oops. Okay. Grab the layer that the new yellow color is on, and let's just use colors, brightness, contrast. Actually, let's before we do that, let's go colors, desaturate. Okay, and now we'll go colors, brightness, contrast now, and darken that up quite a bit, so we get a nice feel that that's on a different fabric layer than the brown leather. Okay, so now we'll save this as our bump map. Save, replace, export, save. Okay, and last but not least, the specular layer. So let's turn our thread layer, where's that at? Whip here. Turn that black. We'll just go ahead and image, actually layer colors, there we go, invert. And turn off our clouds, and this can probably work as the specular again. Actually, let's make the yellow colors just about the same as the rest of it. So we'll just go color, brightness, contrast, and just increase the brightness. Not quite the same, but almost. There we go. Okay. Save as, and this will be our specular map. Save, replace, export, and save. All right. So now back to Blender. And we'll just go over here to our texture settings of our material, and we'll just reload all of our textures there, and reload. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and save, and let's try rendering it out one more time, see how it looks now. Okay, well that looks pretty good. I'm kind of proud of myself for this one. So there we go. That's a nice leathery jacket looking texture. Not quite even. Might go ahead and play with it a little bit more off camera, but that'll work. So sorry this one ran on a little bit longer than it should have, but we got our jacket pretty well done. So the next part, we might do a few tweaking a little bit, and then we'll start working on getting this guy rigged up so we can control his facial expressions and things. So that's all for part 22. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 23.